Okay, folks, happy Thursday. I don't think I've ever said that before. Happy Thursday. I only say happy Friday when it's at the end of the day Friday. Certainly not a fan of Friday mornings. That's wore out from the weekday. Actually, if I get on tomorrow, I will not say happy Friday because I got to go into work on Saturday. So technically not a Friday per se. But anyhow, here we are, back at another eight-wheeled armored car fiasco scenario type thing. So we've got all these sub-assemblies that have kind of dried. We've got these wheels that we're going to install here. And before we do that, we got to add these little 10A sections that kind of banana clip looking things that fit at the end of these suspension pieces. So we're going to go ahead and add those, and then we can go ahead and put the wheels on and see how they fit on here. And there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, there should be 8 of them. 4 from each of these. I'm just going to pop these off with the X-Acto knife. Isn't it an X-Acto knife? No, it's a Pro Edge. Is that one X-Acto? Nope, that one's Pro Edge. Yeah, maybe I don't have an X-Acto knife. They're all Pro Edge ones. The blades certainly aren't X-Acto. Go figure. Who knows how old these things are? Would be cool to look back and see if there's a way to find out how long I've had some tools for. You know, like these pieces, I don't know, these, I probably inherited these from my dad, these Swiss tweezers from Switzerland. You know, I actually looked like, oh, let me see how much Swiss tweezers are. Yeah, I won't be buying any. That's not what tweezers cost. Like $50 or $70 or something like that. It was something absurd for an inanimate object, you know, that doesn't do anything. I mean, sure, they're quality, but no. So I've had that a long time. I'm not sure how long exactly. It used to be the thing I owned that was probably the oldest. Of course, I've had this for a long time, and I've been using an light for lighting in my painting hobby area for probably about 2007 and 2008. And before that, I had a drafting table lamp. I had an old school drafting table lamp with the neon tubes, and everything was completely metal. And it was old school. It's like from the 60s. I think it was something that belonged to my dad or whatever. And I commandeered it probably in the mid 80s when I still lived at home. I did all my hobby work on it, and I thought it was pretty much indestructible. Never had to replace the bulbs. I mean, these bulbs were like, they must have been like almost 30 years old. Well, more than that. I got it in 85. It was probably the original bulbs. The thing was probably from the mid 60s. And I never replaced a bulb until it started. I don't know if it died or the ballast went in it or something like that. But it was good from whenever it got bought in the mid 60s until about 2008. You just don't make stuff like that anymore. But that's a testament to how well that thing was made, is to have a desk lamp that never had the bulbs replaced on it. And let's see, mid 60s, so mid 70s, mid 80s, mid 90s, mid 2000s, over 40 years. That's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Like, these things have been solid ever since. So that's 2008. I've had them 15 years, something like that. and I've replaced one bulb. But the thing is that the lighting on these is so much better. It's only burning 12 watts or something like that. It's producing no heat. The light is like daylight. They're just wonderful. I mean, I don't know if there's a better product out there than OttLight. I mean, I'm sure it is, but I certainly don't need to replace them. So I may need to get a second one if I have a new work area that I got to put things in where it's bigger, and I might want 2 lamps on it. But these have been pretty solid, but nothing like the first one. It lasts like 40 freaking years. That's just crazy. I never bought it. It was one I commandeered from my dad, and it served me well for many, many years. Eventually, the ballast died on it. Only one bulb was working, and it would hum, faintly, but it definitely lasted a long time. That was for the longest time the thing I had that was probably the oldest. It was still in continuous use. I don't use that anymore. So I'm thinking, what's the oldest thing I have? Well, these tweezers probably are. I've probably had them since probably the early '90s. And honestly, I didn't use much. I'm using the tweezers now more than I've ever had before. I'm building a hell of a lot more models than I ever did before and finishing them. Because the 1/35 scale stuff I was doing before, they didn't get finished. You'd starting a model, and you run into some kind of a hiccup where you had to make a decision on where you were going to do this or that, or you just like, well, I don't know about making a decision. Got analysis paralysis. Buy another kit. And same thing happens with that one. So I don't really want to do that anymore. I want to complete things. Complete things or don't start them. And I'm more successful at that now than I ever have been. But sometimes it's a struggle. These paints, these Vallejo paints that I have almost the entire, well, I don't anymore. I had almost the entire line, but then they keep adding things to them. Now there's just so many Vallejo paints I can't even keep track, but I've had I've had most of these for 20 years. I've had most of them for 20 years. I've had to replace a few colors. Some browns, the black and the white, obviously. The flesh, I think I've replaced the flesh once. But by and large, all the other colors, the original ones that I bought 20 years ago from Brookhurst Hobbies, that I had used my monies from selling my hobby things I didn't use anymore, and just put the monies back right into the hobby. And I got them because at the time they were the only ones that had the eyedropper thing, and that was revolutionary. Especially for the kind of painting I'm doing, which does not use a whole lot of paint. So not sure. I got some other things that are pretty old. Okay, let's proceed with putting these wheels on. I'm going to do these one at a time. Somebody was telling me, who was it that said yesterday or saying that they liked watching his and hers hobby things? I need to look at that and see if there's husband and wife hobby things. Just out of curiosity. We had some people that looked at the house a while back. Some of the first people that were looking at the house when we listed it. Wheels turned just a little bit, and I actually kind of like the way it is because these are all independent. I'm going to leave that as is. It's turned a little bit. See if I can put it together with this one. It's also turned the same way. Yeah, that might be actually a good combination. And they came in, and I think both of the husband and the wife were an artist. And of course, we've got this room that's kind of, geared. When you look in houses, you generally don't run into somebody who's, also has artsy stuff in there. And the guy really liked the house, older guy. But the lady was just like bitching, bitching. And we encounter a lot of people, and you can hear them on the ring bell when they come up to the door. It's like, man, how do you put up with that person all the time, man? It's like you need a freaking merit badge for putting up with that. And same thing if it was like a dude, and he would be, what would be the opposite of henpecking? Cockpecking? I guess that's the wife, that's not cool, man. You fight at home. You don't need to be fighting on my ring bell where, you're an audience. What is the opposite of henpecking somebody? Mansplaining? That'd be a good question for the usual suspects. If you put this thing together like they suggest, in the order they suggest, not doing these sub-assemblies, but doing it a different way, it's just going to be unholy hell. It'd be nice if there was actually like a post or something that these guys could attach to. But, you know, this is the fourth one of these I've built. I think I've pretty much got it down. This is got a little piece that's jutting out. Remove that. You and me? Well, there's another person watching. Maybe it's the Chinese. Hey, I got a question for you, considering you just signed on here. And what is the opposite of somebody who's henpecked? So, you know, henpecked is somebody who's, you know, the guy gets home and he gets just a rash of shit from the wife. So what is it when the wife is getting a rash of shit from the dude? Because that's not cool either. Is it mansplaining? Nah, not really. There's got to be another name for it. Could be the king of the nerd burglar. Oh, crap. Are you invoking him? Say nerd burglar 3 times and he'll appear. Nerd burglar, nerd burglar, nerd burglar. Yeah, good. Cockpet. Yeah, we've had some couples that have looked in the house. They come in like arguing. Like, I don't want to see that. You're not going to buy a house with people arguing. When's the last time people buying a house, you know? But usually what's funny is most of the dudes actually like the house. It's the women that seem to be the problem. Some may call it revenge or turnaround. I leave all my stuff out here. So somebody could walk up like, oh, he's building tanks or whatever. What kind of Shermans are those? Get out of here. No house for you. Why is this bent this way? You had a windy storm. Is the weather starting to change yet? Has it gotten into autumn? Wow, I actually called a word I don't normally use. I don't normally use autumn. Just like I don't use supper. It's dinner time and it's fall. You got any cooler weather yet? Or is it still unsufferable? Let that sit for a little bit before I go and manipulate that. Hell no, 90s in 3 days. I got in my car from work. I got a temperature gauge on my dash, which is never accurate. It'll say it's, 112 when it's not 112. It's at 100 today. And it had gotten so hot, I couldn't touch any of the knobs. I went to try to put on my seatbelt and was like, man, I had to hurry up. I couldn't grab the steering wheel. Just super, super hot. I don't know what the hell it got up to, but super, super hot. I just got a notification that it says 86 and sunny. Yeah, not sunny. I got a notification a little while ago. It's supposed to be like a big rain event tomorrow. And we'll see. I don't really care for rainy weather when I got to go to work. That's just a massive inconvenience for me. I got to deal with a lot of paperwork outside, so. Okay, let's go ahead and put that piece that goes in here, which is 24B. Here it is. This one has a tendency of being extremely brittle. So I had an interesting thing that happened last night. I had this really vivid dream that I had involving me getting ready to go on the stage and do some stand-up. And I commented on my page, and you know, I don't really post controversial things on Facebook. If I post opinionated stuff on Facebook, it's on my own page, and it's just like, you know, your doorstep. You don't like it, keep moving on. And this guy kept wanting to go back and forth on him. It's like, you know, there's a lot of people on there that are just, I don't know if they didn't have the funding to get their Juris Doctor, but you know, they just have a fetish for arguing and shit. And like, I have zero tolerance for doing that kind of stuff, so. Don't come on my page, and if you don't like what you see, just keep moving. Or you'll be silenced. Because I don't go on the internet to argue with people. It's just not my thing. You know, you're not going to convince anybody. You're not going to convince anybody in written form of anything. Maybe in person. Maybe if you sit down and talk to them, but this is somebody I don't even know personally, so. Here, another severe thunderstorm watch. Is this normal that time of year? Well, after my experience driving home today, it is official. People drive. I don't know that people have ever driven worse than now. I had two people that I was getting ready to make a right-hand turn, and I'm pretty nimble, fast. I don't screw around. And this guy like jumped in front of me. I'm like getting ready to make a right-hand turn. He's in a left-hand turn, and he turned in front of me to go up the road. And pissed me off, especially because I decided not to go in front of the guy that was in front of me. I was on my way home, and there was this huge Suburban that was just going a little too slow, and I'm like, I'm not going to drive fast and cut him off. And then the next turn, this guy comes out of nowhere and dashes in front of me. So I proceed to freaking follow him, laying on the freaking horn, like, you know, I want the entire world to know that he's a sinner. He just pissed me off. And eventually he went away. Turned left at a traffic light, and that same traffic light, a different person jumped in front of me. And lucky I wasn't in a hurry, because I usually spend no time getting up to 0 to 60. I get up to the speed limit in no time. You know, I may not speed more than 5-10 miles an hour over the speed limit, but I don't fuck around. That's basically the only fun you can have. You can't drive 120 miles an hour whenever you want, but you know, you can get up to the speed limit at whatever freaking speed you want, as long as it's safe. It's not like, oh, you're breaking the law. You went too fast, you know. But luckily I wasn't on it, or this guy would have jumped in front of me too. It's like, what the hell's wrong? What the hell is wrong with people today? And I bet you both of those people were probably distracted while they were driving. Oh, I don't get road rage, but I let the whole world, I use the horn. I'm not just going to sit there and take it. I'm not going to follow them home or anything or do anything more than that. But I'll lay on the. When people do something stupid, I've been known to lay on the horn for 15, 20, 30 seconds. And that really boils them up. Well, it should. You're a fuckhead. You know, we almost got in an accident because you're an ass clown. Okay, 5B, 8B, 5B, 8B. All right, so we need to take those out there again. You know, I do that here. You can't do that shit in Miami. You'll kill you. But, you know, can't let people get away with stuff just thinking they can get away with shit. I mean, they still got away with it, but, you know, they're going to get an earful. I remember when I was in my first vehicle, it was basically a piece of crap. And this guy merged on me. It's a narrow road anyways. And I'm in a left-hand lane. This guy just didn't see me, didn't give a shit, whatever. He merged on me. I saw him coming, held back, laid on the horn. I laid on the horn for, you could see that it was boiling his ass up. Perfect. That's what you get. Okay, we're at this angle, so it needs to be... God, this is like the hardest thing to figure out. I know they're mislabeled. That's the one for that side. Which means this is the one for this side. This should fit right here. Yeah. Yeah. We did not put... Okay, this one is at that angle. Why don't you follow the instructions? Because I did on the first time and they're wrong. When all you got to do is just kind of think of it logically and you can figure out which piece goes where. Okay. What else goes on here? I think that's it. We got to build another interior. I don't know. Did I build it on the first one? I believe this is the one that's not even visible. Yep. No interior for this vehicle. No part of it is visible. Okay, I don't think anything else is going to go on the hull. Let's go ahead and pull the hull out. We can put the two halves together. Started work on the Scharnhorst last night. You're thinking of taking the Chromebook over to the desk and work on it while chatting here. Do it. Scharnhorst. Beautiful ship. I always liked her better than her sister. Gnisnu, as somebody called it. Unbelievable. Gnisnu. NAU is somehow new. When I had them in 1/2400 scale, I painted the decks of the German ships gray. You know, like it was, it's still wood, but it was painted gray, so it'd stand out because they looked more sinister. I wouldn't do that now, but because you got a lot of access to stuff. But some stuff just looks really weird. Like if you take something like, say, the Rodney, okay, one of my favorite ships, and somebody say, "Oh, it's ugly." Well, maybe in the same way, maybe a Sherman tank is ugly. But I like old Rodney. Rodney had a really cool camouflage scheme. She had lots of different camouflage schemes. Whenever she had the camouflage scheme on her, the decks were still natural colored, and it looks weird. It looks weird as a model to have that, but it's just one of those things that, I don't particularly like U.S. World War II ships because it just made too many of them and they just kind of lose personality. And I'm not into the Pacific, but the one thing the U.S. ships did right is they painted their decks a blue color, and it looks really, really sharp. It looks really, really sharp. I don't think there was any natural decked U.S. ships. Maybe when the war started, obviously at Pearl Harbor they were, and maybe like the USS Houston or something like that when she was sunk at Java Sea. I don't remember if she was sunk at Java Sea or right after that. But pretty much all the other exceptions, the U.S. painted all their decks, a bluish color. And it looks better. The British are just a mixed bag. Sometimes they were painted the deck, sometimes it didn't. It just depended. Sometimes the destroyers had that Semtex coating, or the stuff they used between the war called, is it corticine? Something like that. It was like a brownish type linoleum type color, whatever. I got all the paint chips. I got all the naval paint chips. Of course, now they make like actual colors. You can go and I want the actual German color that they use for this. And they sell it now. Different manufacturers and stuff like that. They didn't back then. One of my favorite paint schemes is Western approaches. I love those British destroyers and Western approaches. They just look so cool. You know, I love British destroyers, the way they're painted. Really have a lot of personality. Yeah, I'm going to pull this out. You may appreciate this. You may appreciate this, you may not. I think you will. This is something I haven't touched in probably a couple decades. This has probably been superseded now. There's probably better stuff than this now, but this was state of the art back in the mid-90s probably. I don't even remember who the hell made these things anymore. Let me pull this thing up here. Might even say on here. But there's a company that made paint chips. You could buy them for all the colors. So here's the U.S. World War II ship colors. Pre-war, early 41, late 41. So, you know, all the colors that they use there. And you can match them to whatever you happen to have. And I've got them in sleeves here to protect them a little bit. Here's some more. When I got these, the internet was really in its infancy. Snyder and Short Enterprises is the name of the company. Out of Sacramento, California. Here's some other colors as well. I don't know why it says U.S. Navy World War II ship colors, but then it says Mountbatten pink, which is a British color. We've got some greens too, mainly for landing craft. I didn't realize there was this many of the U.S. ones. I've got all the nations. It just happened to have the U.S. ones up front. Imperial Japanese, and not all Japanese ships are the same, depending if it's from Korea or from Sasebo. My favorite one, Italian Navy, ship colors. I got the whole set, I got them all. Royal Navy. There's the pink, Mountbatten pink light, Mountbatten pink dark. Western approach is blue, Western approach is green. Do I have one for the DKM? Yes, but apparently it's all the way in the back. Of course. These are some of the later war ones, the G5 series for enablement, G20 and stuff like that. Who paints pink on a warship? I don't know. It actually looks okay. I mean, you don't want the whole warship to be pink, but who paints that buff color? That's horrible. Kriegsmarine. Here's the Kriegsmarine colors, supposedly. Norwegian colors. Yeah, I like those candy stripes too. They look nice. It looks good. It just gives it some personality. Oh, there's a lot of Kriegs Marine colors. Camouflage for ships on the open sea. I haven't touched these things in 20 years. This is more like S-boat stuff right here. Some of the Italian ship. Yeah, they had some crazy. They had some camouflage that uses some pretty bright colors. Not old. It's not like the entire ship was painted in that. It's just yeah. This Vediciato. This down here looks like the western approach is green. Yeah, pretty cool. Anyhow, and like on the back, there's some information. Like if you take the Imperial Japanese Navy colors, right? There's several different dockyards: Sasebo, Kure, Maizuru, Yokosuka. And if you flip on the back, it'll tell you, according to this, which ships were painted in what color in what year. So, you know, you can see Yamato, if you're doing Yamato, on February 1944, she had the Kure Naval Arsenal color. I guess if you do her at a different time, you're on your own. AMF Yo-Yo. But at least it gives you some ideas. So, kind of a cool little thing. This, I'm sure, this is superseded by other things now. I've had this for like 20 years. So what I ended up doing, and I have this in the same folder, is back before I even had Vallejo. This is pre-Vallejo, so this is 20 years ago. And you can tell this is almost like a dot matrix printer. This is printed on. When is this? Revised January. Oh, we're looking some ancient stuff here. January 7th, 2001. This was the paints that I was using back in the day. I was using Model Master Acryl, and I was using Polyscale. And I took all the paints that I had and I kind of matched them up. So if you have U.S. Navy colors, the Polyscale number, I created this chart. And this basically, if I wanted to do that haze gray 5H, I would get Polyscale 505 330. And that was the closest match to it. And yeah, pretty cool. Let's see what we got for the Joymans, since you asked about them. Oh, I didn't get that far. No, U.S. Navy, Japanese, Italian, and Brit. I don't know why I didn't do the Germans. I don't know. So. Anyhow. Blast from the past. 22 years ago. Doesn't smell like when you get one of those books from England. Of course, I don't have a basement here. I've never lived in a house with a basement. I don't really know what that is. That's something Yankees have. Anyhow, thought you might find that interesting. Snyder and Short Enterprises. Now you can just go to a place that has the color matched colors, you know, and there's several different manufacturers that do stuff like that. I want to say even AK does them. I left out the Germans. I don't know why I left them off. Maybe I already had them painted how I wanted to and it didn't really matter. I like the German stuff and I like the Italian stuff. That's the two theaters that I liked. I particularly like the Italian ones because they have basically, you could do full fleet actions. You know, they have multiple battleships or they can have multiple battleships, multiple heavy cruisers. You know, the whole shebang. All right, we can go ahead and glue the top and the bottom on these things. Your basement is unlivable. Well, that sucks. And god-awful dusty. How does the dust get in there? And musty. The attic isn't much better. This house is about 130 years old. That's older than Florida. 130 years ago in Florida, people had freaking bones in their noses and were cannibals. There's old places in Florida, but, you know, there are not very many houses of that age. That's one thing I like about Florida. None of this old shit falling apart. None of this old crap. An unlivable basement. That sucks. I've also never lived in a house that had subflooring. You know, like when you get up in the morning and you walk around and you could hear the floor creaking. I don't have anything against that. I've just never had a house like that. This is monolithic flooring land. I mean, yeah, there's houses like that here, but I've just never lived in one. Shut down the computer's thundering bad. We'll be back a few minutes on the laptop. Okay. You know, if somebody takes lightning serious, it's me. I don't screw around with that stuff. That's the work of the devil. That might be worse than the work of the devil. You may be able to make a deal with the devil. You can't make a deal with lightning. I take that shit seriously. All right, we need to let that thing percolate there, as I like to say. We can go ahead and glue the things that aren't in the way, which would be this section right here. And let's see, which one is the top part? I believe it sits like this. Can just sit like this, or the other way. And the way it's tapered, that's got to be facing up right there. Oh, maybe it isn't that way. Maybe it's this way. Yeah, that's how I installed the other one. That's how we're going to do this one on. Alright, we've got some punch marks here. Somebody wants to be a loud piece of shit on the road. It's always a show off. Okay, that fits in there pretty well. I don't really want to drip any glue in there though, because that's going to be a problem. So let's just go around the edge. And we will drop this in like this. It fits in there nicely. It's funny, this one is a lighter color. The plastic in this one is a lighter color than any of the other ones. You know, don't press down on it, dumbass. Kind of a slow night tonight. Ladies' night. I don't know if that's still a thing. Thursday nights being ladies' night. Guess they knew everybody was going to go out on Friday, so I try to get the jump on it. Ladies drink free. I bet there's a limit to that. Get some lady that goes out on ladies' night that cusses like a sailor and named Marge. Or Barb. It's storming like a witch. Which one? Better you than me, man. I want none of that. I want none of that action. Let's take the world's smallest mufflers off. It's going to be 2 of those. Smallest exhaust pipes. So yeah, like Marcus was saying the other day, is yeah, coming up on the 1 year anniversary of working on this stuff. Might do a walk around, but also the 1 year anniversary of not doing any DBAs. That's coming up too. But I've kind of refrained from making that video because I don't want to discourage people from playing the game. I really don't have anything bad to say about it, other than I'm done with it. I've moved on and I don't regret it. So wouldn't be doing all this if I was still doing DBA. So it had just been another year of not doing World War II again. I don't really mind doing the ancients and medievals because I learned a lot, learned a lot of history. But the project length is so much longer than this. You're basically working on a nationality for half of a year, during which time you really don't have time to do anything else. So well, I was enjoying it. The problem is that it's really hard for somebody who works at a place where you're constantly solving problems, and problems would come up, issues would come up with the rules that are definitely solvable, but you can't solve them because you're worried about getting a consensus of all the players, because it is a tournament type game. So I don't want to make some ruling that works for us and doesn't work for anybody else. So because of that, we just kind of had to deal with something that just didn't seem right for many, many, many years. And I'm just like done with that. I'm just, now I'm going to play something, and if it works for me, if something doesn't make sense, you freaking change it. Okay, I believe what I did is I opened this up a little bit. I wouldn't, and it's not because it's a different period that's not World War II. It's actually not that at all. It's just that it just ended up being unfulfilling. So I'm not leaving that to play like some abortion for me, like Flames of War, Rapid Fire, or something like that. That's not the way forward. It's to play if I get around to playing, because it's not really the main motivator for me. Whatever I want it to be, and if something doesn't seem right, change the freaking rules. Yeah, I don't think anybody plays Field of Glory. And the problem is that everybody was playing Field of Glory, and then they left. And I don't like nomadic players. They just want you to throw freaking money at the problem. And those books are expensive. Those are really pretty books, but man, it's expensive to have all of them. And then to just be pissing all that money away, I mean, geez, what did I do? Now I can't get this piece out, and it went in so easily. Or have to redo stuff. And one of my favorite sayings that I coined is just because you don't value my time doesn't mean I don't value my time. Don't go around wasting my freaking time and think I'm going to be okay with it, There's actually another rule set that I've been wanting to play for Ancients and Medievals that somebody's demoing at our con, and I don't think I'm going to play it. I just I've really enjoyed the last year what I've been working on. I don't know that I've been happier, as you like to say. I have been a lot more carefree. I have a lot. I've had basically no responsibilities with my hobby. I mean, and I've gotten a lot done. So that's why I want to keep it. I don't want the, okay, let's get everybody, teach how to play this game, and then nobody shows up again. I'm like, nah, I'm going to do this, and I'll be here doing this, and if you want to come by and do it with me, that's fine. But, I got a limited amount of time left on this earth, and I want to have fun doing this and not have to worry about it. I got enough responsibilities at work. Wow, this pendejo does not want to come out. All right, we'll fix you, you mother. I'm just going to do what I was going to do without that piece. Oh, now you want to come out. Oh, fair weather piece. All right, let's just enlarge this thing. That should fix it. Just a tiniest bit. This isn't gonna stick. For whatever reason, this didn't stick. All right, no worries. And none of this got to get something done by a certain time, and it'll get done when it gets done, and that's when it's going to get done, and it won't be done sooner. I spend more time working on hobby stuff than most people, so if that's not good enough for you, tough titty. Okay, we're going to hold that down. Yeah, and there's just some people that I just don't want to play a game with. Love the applicator and Viejo Putty. It's done well. Yeah, they did a good job with it. I don't know where the hell mine disappeared to. It's here somewhere. I just don't want to take the whole room apart. There's a couple people that play big battle games. I just don't want to deal with them anymore. They're a pain in the ass. 2 people in particular. They don't play in tournaments. They play in, it's an off weekend. I'm just going to hang out, talk to folks, probably film, do an overview thing. Those are fun to do. The only reason I haven't done any filming is because there's just nothing to film. I'm not playing stuff, so it's not that I'm giving up on filming things. It's just nothing's happening where I'm at. Yeah, they did do a good job with the applicator on that. It's interesting material. Let's hold this for another couple of minutes. It really doesn't take that long to glue, especially if it's a piece that isn't flexed by the sun. I was saying about a month ago or so that back when I was in my teens, I had a 1/72nd scale model of the Panther. That's all I remember. And then it was in this color. It was, armor dark yellow, as we used to call it. The plastic was. And it came in baggy, and I can't remember who the manufacturer was. And I was on eBay a couple weeks ago, and I noticed some kits that looked like it could be it, and it looked like the old Aurora Eschi kits that came in a plastic baggie with a, with a card at the top of it. And I remember that hull was a 3-piece hull. You had the center section and the two sides, just like this one is actually. And the two sides were flexed. They were flexed out. And, I was 13 years old. I couldn't deal with that. I didn't have the experience of using rubber bands or none of that stuff or going on the internet and knowing how to deal with that stuff. So it basically thoroughly whooped my ass. And I don't believe I finished it. Doing the full hull for Sawhorse, had to use it to fill in the bow, the lower part of the bow, and the full hull is a separate part that is seam. You're not doing them waterline? What? What's wrong with you? Well, you gotta paint all the barnacles then. I remember when I used to do ship models. They were the old MPC 1/600 scale, which were ex-Airfix kits, and they all had a full bottom. There was no option to make it, waterline, and it pissed me off. So I didn't want to do the underwater stuff. I mean, you never see them that way unless they're in dry dock. Oh no, build whatever you want to, man. I'm a big fan of letting people do whatever the hell they want. But yeah, I'd do waterline all day long. Then you could game with them. Theoretically. Okay, so we've got... Man, it's the day of the noisy vehicles. Man, where is everybody tonight? All at ladies' night. I'm not sure if that's still a thing. I have a feeling that I need to put this down before I glue any of the guns onto it, or there won't be anywhere for them to attach. If I remember correctly. Yeah, the fit and finish on some of these things is just really excellent. They just have a lot of parts that really don't mean anything. So speaking of Alleyway Alley, I was going to say we have a big homeless problem. I think every place has a big homeless problem now. Not big, but they're, in places near the interstate and stuff like that. And I saw a guy the other day. I was driving around. I see this guy who's, out asking for money, and he's taking a break. He's sitting off to the side under a shade tree or whatever. He's right by the road where cars are parked, but he was taking a break. And he's surfing on his phone. So you telling me this guy's homeless but has a cell phone? I ain't buying it. It just seems wishy-washy. He's probably out blowing candles. I think it's his birthday today. If I remember correctly. It was either yesterday or today or something like that. I remember the last time for my birthday that I had a birthday celebration. It was really low key. It was just a family or whatever. Homeless guy's probably a multi-millionaire. I don't know about that, but I'm not very sympathetic to him if you got a cell phone. Something peculiar going on. Not exactly adding up. Okay, so this gun fits in here. And fits like that. Okay. And after building my fourth, no, I've actually done more than that. Because I built, I think, 2 armored cars before. I've built a half dozen of these rodent kits. The Eschi kits are worse because these may have bad instructions, but all the stuff, pretty for the most part, fits where it's supposed to. Eschi kits just don't fit where they're supposed to. They're poorly engineered. Okay, we need to get the MG42, which I'm probably going to have to lift it up and put it back down on it. Yeah, well, I was floored seeing a homeless guy with a cell phone. So time for a bad joke. Why did the Scarecrow win an award, Tony? Bad joke. Hopefully, I don't know. Just tell me Kevin's not coming here to do the punchline. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? I don't know. Might not be good. I might use it in my stand-up routine that I've been working on. I'm moonlighting as a stand-up comedian. Okay. Because he was outstanding in his field. Oh, oh my gosh. To the gulag with you. Very funny, comrade. To the gulag. Who's some of your favorite stand-up comedians? You know, hopefully somebody I've heard of. And the reason I probably had a stand-up comedian dream last night is earlier yesterday evening, the wife and I were looking at what was available on TV, and we saw there was a lot of stand-up stuff. We're probably going to watch some of it on TV over the weekend. And it probably got stuck in my mind at some point. And somehow that morphed into having a freaking dream about it. Okay. There's two things. Then we have the 2As, which are those little pieces that fit on the back. Lewis Black. Of those three, Lewis Black is my favorite. I like people that get angry. Jeff Dunham, I've seen a couple of his things. He's extremely talented, don't get me wrong. I can't throw my voice or anything like that. But his material could be better. He could do so much more with that terrorist. It's just a missed opportunity. Just kind of sad. But he's very talented. Bill Engvall, I don't know that I may have caught some of his stuff, but I don't recall. But I like Lewis Black. I do. Actually, we were going to watch a thing. I think we were going to watch a special on him because I like him. And there was several things on by him, and we turned one of them on, and the entire show was all about COVID this and COVID that and COVID the other thing, and COVID. And I'm sorry, I'm not interested in any of that COVID comedy crap. I'd rather forget that ever even happened. I just have no interest in revisiting that. So yeah, I didn't watch it because that's what it was. Every other thing was just a COVID this or a COVID that. Joe Coy. Joe Coy is pretty funny. Snapdragon. One of you guys, one of the viewers said something like, turn me on to freaking Jimmy Carr. And Jimmy Carr is freaking, he's like English Daniel Tosh. He's freaking hilarious. You know, one of those guys that says something offensive and then acts like, oh, I'm sorry, and then he pours gasoline on it. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I like. You need to get some thicker skin. Okay. Right. Gotta add all the parts to the fenders. Going waterline. Yeah, baby. Otherwise, you got to paint all the barnacles. You got to get the right ones that were available in the 1940s in the Norwegian fjord. Or them nerd burglars, they all be all up in your business. Paris, you have an Osprey series book, the Parasites and Barnacles of the Kriegsmarine, Volume 3. So I like most armored cars. There's some armored cars that I think are dogs. How they look. I don't remember what they are right now. Maybe the Staghound. Just freaking ugly. M8's kind of ugly, but also kind of cool. So we'll give that one a pass. Waterline plate fits better to the hull too. There you go. I had the 1/700 scale one from Tamiya on the Scharnhorst. I had a Scharnhorst and I had a Rodney. And I think I didn't paint the hull. I think I left the hull the way it was. I painted the deck. And it looked okay at the time, I guess. Either molded in gray, so. Do I remember the math equation to figure out ship sizes in inches? Absolutely. Absolutely. So all you do is, whatever scale you have, divide it by the factor. So if you're doing 1/700, and the ship is 700 feet long, there's a good simple example. So if you're building a 1/700 scale ship, and the ship is 700 feet long, it's really 1 foot long in the model. So I'm pretty good at math, as long as the math is of the type of math where you can kind of get an idea of what the answer is going to be, kind of roundabout, so that when you get the answer, you can kind of check in your head that it makes sense. So if it's stuff like scale and stuff like that, like, we know that's 700 feet long, so this one's 800, so it needs to be a little bit long. So you get an idea. If you start working in like all these negative numbers, quadratic formula and shit like that, nothing makes sense. You can't visualize what the damn answer is. I don't do well in that. But anything it's like, that you can like kind of check in your mind that it is the right answer, I do really well with stuff that has, like real world substance. So, same thing. You have a ship that's 800 feet long. Bismarck, I think, is 838 feet long or something like that. You take 838. Of course, that's not at the waterline. It's a little shorter at the waterline but it's 840, 838 feet long, something like that. Divide it by 2400, divide it by 2400, and that's how many feet long it is. If you want to know inches, then take that number and multiply it by 12. Like, try out Sea Creek 4, it's called. I've played the living shit out of that game. If I had ships, I could run that. I could run games of Sea Creek 4. I still remember how to do it. I still have my Sea Creek 4 stuff. That's a game that makes sense. The damage model is a little dated because every ship has damage points based on tonnage. And it could take extra damage. It's not like, oh, well, they're going to take a fixed amount of damage every turn. No, they're going to take a fixed amount of damage. Plus, you can get critical hits that multiply that damage up or down, or criticals and stuff like that. But it is a game that is not abstract at all, and it just makes sense. And that's prior to DBA, the game that I played the most of any other one. That one in Advanced Squad Leader. I probably played 50, 60 games of Advanced Squad Leader. Maybe played 120, 130 games of Sea Creek 4. Knew it really well, estimating on the freaking floor and shit like that. I would never do that again. You can play it with Percentile, and it's available for free. And it's not bad. And that's what we played pretty much exclusively from about 1987 until 2005. No, 2005, no, I'm sorry. 1995, 1996. And the group we had in town just pretty much disappeared. But yeah, that was the go-to set of rules. I picked up Sea Creek 5 in 2005 when it came out. Joe's from our group he's the Sea Creek expert. And he plays with those guys all the time. Because the guys that developed Sea Creek are, the main developer lives in New Smyrna, which is not far from here. But I've never played a game of it at the con because you're not going to finish the game. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I love ship stuff. I mean, I get it. And Sea Creek has the amount of detail that I like to have it. I am a rivet counter. But you're not going to finish the game. So I'm no interest in playing a game that isn't going to finish. That and, without naming any names, because I really don't know the names of them, several of the people that play some of those naval games just don't have a high level of energy. But that's the people. That's not necessarily the naval game. They're the same way, I'm sure, no matter what it is they play. They're just kind of, guys that are just not very dynamic. And I like to play with people that are dynamic, have energy, and, get excited when things go right or not, That's just, if you've seen any of my gameplay, I'm pretty dynamic, when shit happens. So, some folks were like, a little too laid back. But I played a lot of Sea Creek 4. A lot of it. And it was the best thing out there before Sea Creek 5. Sea Creek 5 changes the damage system a little bit. And stuff like that. But my buddy, my original Mitch, his favorite ship was the Scharnhorst. And we used to play range estimation. And he was a freaking carpenter. He'll fire for the first time at 3 different ships with 1 turret each and hit all 3 of them. It's just like incredible. That's his to do. But the problem with that is you still have to roll for. That just means the shot got close. You still have to roll to land a hit on the ship. So you could be doing all this extra work and be ranging correctly, and then you actually don't ever roll a hit on the ship, and it's really frustrating. And you just end up those games like really, really tired, like they're just exhausted. But we played many, many games of it. Probably my biggest gripe with Sea Creek 5 is that you buy the rules, they're fairly expensive, and they're really, really thick, and they're really involved. I still got mine covered in plastic sheeting, so it's pretty thick, but it doesn't have any of the ship data in it. The ship data, you got to buy like CDs and stuff, which, and it, when it came out, not all the ship data was available, so I bought it and kind of didn't do anything with it, and there it sits. And I'll probably not get rid of it. If I really want to play it, Joe can. I'm sure the methodology of it is the same. You roll for this, and I've done some of it, but they're running quite a few games of Sea Creek 5, and they have a quicker play version of it as well, the con. But I'm not letting something pull me off of this, so I'm not really interested in playing it because it's just going to just take me in a different direction, distract me from what I'm working on. So, all right, well, it's almost 9:30. I'm going to call this one a wrap, and I guess this was the Nordic and episode because he was the only one that was showing up here. So we'll try it again, and I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow. Definitely won't be on Saturday morning. I gotta work. I think it's the first Saturday I've gone in like 10 or 15 years. But it is what it is. But we'll catch you guys on the next one, certainly Sunday morning.